17 and 18. When evening came, Jesus arrived with the 12. While they were reclining at the table eating, Jesus said, "Truly, I tell you, one of you will betray me." What, Jesus? We've been sticking with you. The 12 of us has been by your side, even risking our lives following you to the city. And now as we celebrate the Passover, you said that one of us is going to betray you. The night was dark enough and the situation was dark enough. And Jesus has to throw in another spanner. Ever felt that? Life is not going your way. One bad thing after another. Your life is just in this situation where it's just not good. And you pray, it says, "God, help me." And one thing that happens is you feel that God doesn't hear you. God is silent. You pray and you pray. And God, don't you care about this situation? Don't you care about me, God? You pray, you pray, you pray, and nothing. Or even worse, you pray and it seems as though God made the situation worse. God, I'm just supposed to help you. I'm just supposed to deliver me. I'm just supposed to bless me. Didn't you say that you have plans for my life? Plans to prosper. What is going on? Disciples thinking, we follow you, Jesus. We thought you were the king. We thought we would reign in your kingdom. And now even though we've been faithful and loyal despite the outward rumors about you, the challenges that we're facing, and now you say that we're going to betray you, Jesus? Doesn't life sometimes feels like that? That God not only doesn't help, it makes things worse. You know, but the interesting thing is, I don't know about you, but my favorite verse from the scripture came in the darkest time of my life. And a lot of my friends, their favorite verse, if you ask them, why is it your favorite verse? They say, well, it was in the time of need that I found this verse. It was in the time of challenge that I found this verse. It was in the dark part of my life, somebody shared this verse with me, I read it, and it became my favorite. Isn't it interesting that most of our favorite verses came in times of trial? And the fact is, if our life was going well and going good and everything was smooth sailing, we wouldn't even touch the Bible, let alone find a verse of comfort, of blessing, a verse to memorize, to be your favorite. In the darkest part of our life, God's not saying I don't care. God's not saying that I'm not there. But this is one thing that we as Christians need to realize, that being a Christian doesn't mean there's not going to be any darkness. Doesn't mean there's not going to be any time of discouragement. Doesn't mean there's not going to be a time where it's tough. In fact, the Bible is filled with stories of people in bad situations. In fact, from chapter 3 onwards, there's been one bad story after another. But then, when it's in those stories, we see how God has been working through humanity in our world. Joseph, Genesis, the child of blessing, the favorite child of multicolored coats, thrown into the well by his friends. You talk about sibling rivalry in your family. That is sibling rivalry. That what you overhear is not that whether I'm going to steal his ice cream or not. What you overhear is, should we kill him? Nah, let's not kill him. Why not? As though his life was some meaningless thing, but they say, no, let's not kill him. But he's such a hateful person. Let's kill him. Let's leave him to die. And in the end, they decided of a better option, merciful option. Let's not kill him. Let's just sell him for money. Your own brothers selling you away for money. King David, the man after God's own heart, thinking that he'll be blessed, anointed as a child, faithful, defeated Goliath. He should be one that stood firm for God, showed faith in God. God should bless him, shouldn't he? King David was a king that we read about in the Bible that goes to bed worried about his own son trying to murder him and take over his kingdom. Going to bed that your own flesh and blood is out to get your life. Moses, midst of travesty, midst of God's deliverance, you think God is coming through, and yet all the 2-year-olds around you are being murdered, and your mom has to put you in a basket and push you into the Nile where the crocodiles are, hoping that God will protect you. Stories after story, story after story of problems, challenges, darkness. That's making most part of this Word of God to us. It's not that God bless, and blessed, but that in trouble. For Joseph, after being sold, that he became the deliverer for his own family. And God raised him up to be prime minister of Egypt. And in fact, a lot of people claim that there are too many pyramids in Egypt, that it cannot all be tombs. And archaeologists have recently suggested that they were storage containers. Sounds familiar to you? Guess who designed the pyramid? I'm suggesting it's God. Through Joseph. David, although committing adultery, having his son trying to kill him, yet gave birth. Had a son named Solomon, who was the wisest king, who built the temple for God, fulfilled his long-time desire. And a son to murder him, and another son fulfill his dream. That God brought him through this journey, and eventually, ultimately, was to save his soul. That at the end, Psalms could say that he was a man of God's own heart. Moses, the guy who survived despite all his peers being killed, God had a plan to keep him alive because God was trying to deliver his people after 400 years. That in the darkest time, God did not ditch his people, but was there for them. It's interesting that the Bible echoes. Years later, another baby was born. And the same thing happened, that the king of that time gave a decree to kill all boys 2 years ago. That right this time round, instead of escaping from Egypt, his baby and his parents escaped to Egypt, fulfilling another prophecy of the Bible. That in the darkest time, God did not forget. God did not neglect. One of you is going to betray us. The words of Jesus to his people, to his disciples. Imagine their thoughts. Have we placed our trust in the wrong person? Maybe he isn't the king we're waiting for. Maybe he isn't the Son of God. But then Jesus goes on. And he says in verse 22 of Mark 14, while they were eating, Jesus took bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and gave it to his disciples, saying, take it. this is my body. That in the midst of this accusation of somebody betraying him, he takes bread and he says, this is my body. Confusing, like what is wrong with Jesus? He's saying things that I don't understand. He's doing things that I don't understand. Why is he doing this? And then he takes the cup and he says, this is the blood of the covenant which is poured out for many. The disciples couldn't see it then. And didn't see it when they went to Gethsemane, the garden, to pray. They didn't see it when the Roman soldiers came and took Jesus away. They didn't see it. In fact, Peter denied Jesus and says, no, I'm not his disciple. And it was darkness that came over the whole city of Jerusalem. And they saw their Lord walking through the street, carrying the instrument of torture and shame. And as he walked up to Calvary, the hopes were dashed. This is not my God. My God is powerless if it is him. And they heard the hammer nailing Jesus to the cross. All hopes were gone. All dreams shattered. Everything ended. But then, the words of Jesus came back to them. This is my body, broken. This is my blood, the blood of the covenant. They realize that being a follower of Jesus doesn't mean that there will be a sudden increase of more faith in God. Doesn't mean that there will be more certainty about the future. It doesn't mean that they will experience more miracle. It doesn't mean there will be more intervention by their God. The Bible doesn't promise that. And the Bible asks us these questions is, can we maintain faith in God when there's absolutely no evidence of his activity in our life? Can you still believe in that God when the God that you believe in seems to have no concern about your daily life, no influence about how you go about living? The Bible tells us that when he was nailed to the cross, the darkness came upon the land. If you read ancient records of China, that even as far east as China, there was record of around that period of time, there was a day where the sun did not shine, neither did the moon. That the darkness that covered the land was not just in Jerusalem. The impact upon the darkest day on earth it spread so far even to China that historians didn't understand but recorded it down in ancient Chinese books. That to the disciples, as they look upon the cross and the darkness, this must be the darkest moment of our lives. That the words of Jesus came back to them, they realized that in the darkest moment, when it seems that God was inactive, he was actually the most active. That in that one moment of death and inactivity, he didn't just bless one person, healed one sick man, resurrected one dead boy, brought out the spirit of one unclean person. That in one activity that seems like inactivity, he rescued the entire human race. See, our God is not a God that doesn't care. Our God is not a God that doesn't act. Our God is a God that acts in a way that may not be in a way that we imagine, and the impact may not be in a way that we think it will be. But our God is a God who loves not just you or me, every single human being. Yes, when Moses was delivered, where was he for the other boys that was killed by Pharaoh? Yes, when he saved King David's life, he had to kill the son's life. Yes, when Jesus, Mary, and Joseph escaped to Egypt, the other boys were killed. And God was not there for them. But God knew that in delivering baby Jesus, that one day on the cross, all these lives will be saved, including the 2-year-olds who were killed by King Herod, including the babies killed by the Pharaoh. That in protecting the life of one Jesus, the entire humanity now has hope. And his body was broken, his blood was shed. God is telling us, although life is uncertain, and the Bible does not promise us a certain life, a life that will be a continuous journey of being blessed, a life that we can know for sure what's going to happen. The Bible doesn't promise that. But the Bible does promise that God is certain. That throughout history, from the beginning of time, from Adam, Eve, all the way to you and me, God is certain. He's rescuing us from an enemy called sin, who is taking as many lives as he can, and the enemy thinks he's winning, but no, he is not. The Bible tells us that sin may kill us, but the sin cannot keep us dead. That God's ultimate strategy was present in a country where there's so much racism. And today the war continues. But he has faith and hope that the God he trusted, the God who's been faithful in the whole scripture, who's been faithful to him, will be faithful. And I'm asking all of you to look into the future, not just a short one, but into the eternal future that God has promised his children. That life on earth is not the end. That this journey doesn't stop here and end here. That this journey is but a bus stop to destination. We are not there yet. We're not there yet. Jesus is going back to prepare a place for you and I. In John 14, he says, if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back. I don't know what you are going through, how you feel about God. You may be silent and quiet, and you may be in a dark place. But God is saying, I got you.